Hey everyone, it's Heather Nichols, and today we're going to do a little bit of stitching to create cute Valentine tags and treat wraps. It all starts with the Get Thready Heart Tag Die collection. This collection includes a tag base, a solid heart, and 3 different stitching die options. I'm also using these tiny hearts that are a part of the Gumball Machine Die collection. To create the treat wraps, I'm using the Tag Treat Wrap Die collection. This has a wrap and optional sides that you can add along with a coordinating tag. I'm using the Gal Pal stamp set for my sentiment, and I'm using the Mini Slim Swiss Hearts stencil. For ink, I'm using Sugar Cube and the Nocturne VersaFine Clair. I've got my white blender brush, a liquid adhesive for the felt, and pixie spray. And I'll be using burlap twine. I'm cutting out the hearts from 100% wool felt, and I matched DMC embroidery floss to each color. For the marshmallow felt, I used B5200. For the cherry blossom felt, I'm using 605. For the cranberry felt, I'm using 498. And for the wine felt, I'm using 814. And then to do the stitching, I'm using a tapestry needle. To start things off, I've got a lot of die cutting to do, and I started with the tag base, which I cut out of Toffee cardstock, and I just cut out a bunch of these. I cut out the solid heart and the 3 stitching heart dies from all 4 colors of felt. Next, I did all of my stitching. I'm going to walk you through a couple of the basic stitches that I used, but you of course can get creative and stitch your hearts however you would like. I'm using all 6 strands of the embroidery floss, and on this first heart I'm doing the back stitch. What you do for the back stitch is you come up in the hole in front of where you want the stitch to be and basically loop the thread back and down the hole behind to create the stitch. And then you're going to come up that hole again in front of where the completed stitch is going to be, and then take your thread and go back down the hole to complete that stitch. There are so many great embroidery tutorials online on how you can do embroidery stitches, so make sure to look those up if you need more help. For the thread ends, when I start and finish, I am basically weaving those underneath the stitches on the back of the heart and securing them in place that way. On this next heart, there is a pierced grid design, and I am doing a cross stitch on this one. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start on the bottom of one of the little grid squares, and you're going to stitch a diagonal across the square. And when you're doing a row, you want to do that same diagonal all the way across. Then to complete the cross stitch, you want to come up on the other side on the bottom and then make another diagonal stitch going across the square the other way. If you prefer, you can do one cross stitch at a time. It's totally up to you. For the hearts with the stitching line around the edge, you can either stitch them flat or you can stitch 2 of them together to make a sort of heart ornament. Put the 2 hearts together and then thread your thread through just the top layer of felt coming out one of the holes. Then you're going to do the running stitch around the outside of the heart. To do the running stitch, you're going to go down one hole through both layers and then come up the next hole and repeat this process all the way around the heart. Once you've gone all the way around the heart, you are going to continue the running stitch to fill in the gaps. It depends on the number of holes in your stitched item, whether you're going to keep going the same direction or reverse and go the opposite direction. Stitching the 2 pieces of felt together in this way gives you a nice stitching line on both sides of your piece. When you've reached the end, you want to thread through that last hole and come through just 1 layer of felt, and you should be by your end that you started with, and you'll tie those together and then thread the ends back to the inside of the heart so they get hidden inside. Here's a look at all of my stitched hearts. It's going to be so much fun to mix and match them together to create the tags and treat wraps. I did cut out some tiny hearts using the heart die from the Gumball Machine Die collection, so I could mix and match those in with the other hearts for my projects. I used liquid glue to attach my hearts together, and I also used it to adhere the hearts to the tag bases. I die cut the treat wraps using the Tag Treat Wrap die. I cut out the wrap itself and the sides from Cupcake, Cherry Pop, and Mulled Wine cardstock. For the treat wraps, you're going to take the larger piece and fold on the score lines on the die cut. You can use a bone folder to make those folds nice and crisp. Then take the two side pieces and you're going to fold in those tabs on the score lines as well. I added a sticky tape adhesive to each of the tabs for the side pieces. And then I added the side pieces into the treat wrap, adhering the tabs on the side pieces to the bottom and sides of the wrap. I put all of my treat wraps together, and then I also cut the coordinating tag out of the same colors of cardstock. To add a background to the tags, I used the Mini Slim Swiss Heart stencil. This stencil actually covered two of the tags at the same time, so it made that nice and quick and easy. I used pixie spray to hold the stencil over the tags, and then used my white blender brush with sugar cube ink to stencil the design. I stamped the XOXO sentiment from the Gal Pal stamp set onto the bottom corner of each tag using the Nocturne VersaFine ink. I adhered the felt hearts to the tags for the treat wraps, and now it's time to finish off the heart tags and put the treat wraps together. I added a length of burlap twine to the top of each of the heart tags. For the small heart ornaments, I used a needle to thread the twine through the top of the heart and then looped it around and tied a knot. And then for the treat wrap, I took burlap twine and threaded it through the top of the tag and the top of the treat wrap and tied it in a bow to secure everything together. My tags and treat wraps are done, and I just love how they turned out. I can't wait to attach the tags to Valentine gifts and to fill those treat wraps with some sweet treats. I hope you enjoyed learning how I stitched up these cute Valentine tags and treat wraps, and I hope you learned something new too. The supplies that I used to create these projects can be found in the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody, and I'll see you next time.